Many members of the class of 2012 are beginning their college experience this weekend. But even before the first class, they find themselves caught up in a new uproar over binge drinking and how to fight it. Sandra Hughes has more.
University campuses across the country are beginning to show the first signs of life.
It's a small little TV.
It's freshman move-in weekend at Loyola Marymount University.
It's just so hard to have them grow up.
And parents and students have lots to worry about, including...
What's it going to be like when your parents are gone and the kids say, Regina, let's go to the party?
I like to have fun, but I am not I don't drink. I'm not a drinker.
Freshman Regina Johnson and her parents have talked about the consequences of binge drinking. But one thing they weren't prepared for, a group of presidents from 100 U.S. colleges and universities saying they want people to consider changing the legal drinking age to 18.
They're not reducing drinking. They're simply driving that behavior behind closed doors into the very kinds of locations that are ideal for only one thing, and that one thing is binge drinking.
Backlash of opposition. Some of the university presidents said what they really wanted was to spark a debate over the drinking age, because binge drinking on college campuses has become such a problem.
I'm looking forward to really having that sense of freedom and responsibility. Hopefully keep it under control.
Annie's dad likes the idea of lowering the drinking age.
Maybe they're a little more supervised in a bar rather than at someone's house and, you know, doing beer bongs and drinking kegs of beer and everything. We were all in college and we know what happened.
An idea that's sure to send chills down the spine of most parents.
Last fall, a group of over 100 college presidents, including the heads of Dartmouth, Virginia Tech, and Duke, signed a declaration stating that the 21-year-old drinking age is not working, and fireworks went off. But the presidents got what they wanted, a national debate about the drinking age. When the age was raised to 21 in the mid-1980s, the goal was to reduce highway fatalities. But everyone knows that the 21 age limit hasn't stopped minors from drinking. And now some experts believe it's actually contributing to an increase in extreme drinking. This is what the former president of Middlebury College in Vermont, John McArdle, believes, and it's why he has started the movement dedicated to lowering the age back to 18. It may seem counterintuitive, but he argues that lowering the age will make kids safer. Now, you're going to see a lot of young people drinking in this story. Undoubtedly, some of them are under 21.
Where did you get the alcohol from?
I got it from a friend.
It's like the old days of Prohibition. From the suburbs to college campuses to inner cities, kids find ways to get around the 21-year-old limit.
You're 15, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to call your parents.
As John McArdle of Middlebury College puts it, it's so widespread, it's the norm.
This law has been an abysmal failure. It hasn't reduced or eliminated drinking. It has simply driven it underground, behind closed doors, into the most risky and least manageable of settings.
Like basements, fraternity houses, and locked dorm rooms, where kids go to hide from the law and from adults, including parents, who might teach them some moderation. McArdle says the law has created a dangerous culture of irresponsible and reckless behavior, unsupervised binge and extreme drinking. This is called 6 and 10, downing 6 cups of beer in 10 seconds. Kids try to perfect the art of getting drunk as fast as possible by playing drinking games and preloading, downing as much of the forbidden fruit as possible before going out, in order to avoid getting caught drinking in public.
What have you been drinking? What have you been drinking? Hey.
It's bad law in that it is unworkable. It's bad social.
Well, is it unworkable or people just don't enforce it?
The issue of enforceability is present, but the fact is it is so regularly and routinely avoided that enforcement of results in 2 arrests or convictions for every 1,000 violations.
We're not in a situation where we can stop it. The best we can do is try to contain it.
Mark Beckner, the chief of police in Boulder, Colorado, a college town, deals with underage drinking every day. So you're basically telling us that you simply can't enforce the law. they are drinking and you cannot enforce it?
Well, we do enforce it, but what we're seeing is it's not being effective.
Beckner has tried many different kinds of enforcement techniques over the years, including strict crackdowns.
We find a party where we know there's underage drinking, we would seal the house, surround the house with officers, and we would write every single underage person coming out of that house. We wrote hundreds and hundreds of tickets those years. All we did is we pushed it further underground.
For that reason, he is one of the few chiefs of police in the country who publicly agrees with McArdle and supports lowering the drinking age.
So what's the advantage to lowering the age to 18?
The overall advantage is we're not trying to enforce a law that's unenforceable. The abuse of alcohol and the overconsumption of alcohol and DUI driving, those are the areas we've got to focus our efforts, not on chasing kids around trying to give them a ticket for having a cup of beer in their hand.
Part of Beckner's jurisdiction is the University of Colorado at Boulder, known as one of the country's top party schools. Boulder was the scene of the terrible tragedy of Gordy Bailey. Gordy was 18, a freshman at the university in 2004. He had been there only 1 month when he underwent a Chi Psi fraternity initiation with 26 other pledges, also underage. Leslie and Michael Lanahan are Gordy's mother and stepfather.
They went off to the mountain and asked them to drink 10 gallons of alcohol in half an hour.
Not beer, alcohol, hard alcohol.
Hard alcohol and wine combined.
You were certainly viewed as a better man if you could handle more.
So how much, do you know how much Gordy actually drank?
He had 15 to 20 shots, if you had to measure it. They were not putting it in shots and drinking it, they were just guzzling it out of the neck of the bottle.
By the time the group got back to the fraternity house, Lanahan says that Gordy was incapacitated.
His eyes were rolling back in his head, and he couldn't walk. And this isn't somebody that just had too much to drink.
Yeah.
He was clearly in trauma.
Lanahan says that the fraternity brothers put Gordy on the library couch and just left him there alone.
The president of the fraternity did ask several brothers at intervals to go in and take Gordy's pulse, as if to say, tell me if he's alive or dead.
So he's on a couch, passed out, for hours? And hours and hours?
9 hours.
9 hours.
9 hours.
And no one called for help.
Right.
911, where's your emergency?
I need to get an ambulance.
What's going on?
We got a guy who's passed out. He drank way too much, and we found him this morning.
Is he breathing?
I don't know. He's not waking up.
Gordy died alone in an empty room with his friends surrounding him. And it's just very preventable, just inexcusable.
Gordy died of alcohol poisoning. To try and prevent another senseless death, the Lanahans created the Gordy Foundation to spread the word about the dangers of alcohol abuse. And recently they released Haze, a film about excessive drinking on college campuses.
I need to get help.
If the drinking age had been 18 instead of 21, would the kids have called for help when Gordy passed out?
I think so.
So because it was illegal, you think that's why they didn't call?
I think that's right.
Do you agree with that?
Well, they had alcohol in the fraternity house, which was against their policy. They had minors buying the alcohol, serving the alcohol to minors. They had to make a decision about what they were going to do, and unfortunately they made the wrong decision.
John McArdle points to the story of Gordy Bailey as one reason he supports lowering the drinking age to 18, which, after all, he says, is the age when we're considered adults for most things.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Like firing a weapon and putting your life on the line in battle.
Why don't we trust these young adults to make the same kind of responsible decisions about alcohol that we believe them capable of making in the voting booth, in the jury box, on the battlefield?
There are a list of impressive organizations that have lined up against you.
Oh, yes.
They feel that you have no data to back up what you're saying, that what you're proposing would be basically an experiment.
Well, I think that first of all we need to understand that lives are being put at risk off the highways in increasing numbers year by year as a result of this law.
Increasing numbers.
That number of lives lost to alcohol by 18 to 24-year-olds is going up at an alarming rate. It isn't just about lives lost on the highways.
So what we have is a conundrum. A law that has reduced highway deaths may, according to McArdle, be contributing to an increase in off-highway deaths. The Surgeon General says more than 3,000 Americans under the age of 21 are dying every year of alcohol-related causes other than driving, including homicide, suicide, and alcohol poisoning.
That's a full bottle of sherry, baby.
These chilling statistics appear to have little impact on behavior. As evidenced by a quick tour of the internet, websites glorify excessive drinking and even teach kids how to get loaded in a few seconds.
I'm about to attempt the Super Irish Car Bomb. Yep. It consists of 2.5 Guinness, 3 shots of Brady's, which is basically Bailey's liquor, and 3 shots of whiskey. And this is a really, really bad idea.
These bad ideas are so common and popular, YouTube and collegehumor.com are used like instruction manuals.
Yeah!
John McArdle thinks even aiming for abstinence is impractical. And besides, he thinks the real problem is alcohol abuse, excessive and binge drinking.
Stop breathing!
And so he has a proposal that accompanies his plan to lower the age to 18.
Alcohol education is what we need, and that is a very important part of our proposal. And by that, I don't mean temperance lectures, and I don't mean prohibition, nor do I mean encouragement to drink.
What he does mean is mandatory classes in high school that would include the chemistry of alcohol, the physical consequences of abuse, and sitting in on AA sessions. Passing an exam would result in a license to drink. So what you're saying is alcohol education would be like driving education.
That's a good analogy.
You'd have to take the course, there'd be a test, you'd get the license. If you violate it, the license is taken away.
Right away. That's right. And think about that analogy. It would never occur to us to say to a young person once they reach driving age, here are the keys, good luck, go figure it out.
McArdle thinks this idea, testing and licensing, is better than leaving things the way they are. Given the vast opposition to lowering the age, his chances of succeeding are slim. But as a history professor, he says, it comes down to what we already know.
We have lived through prohibition. We know prohibition doesn't work. We know that on our college campuses, we know that in our households, we know that in the military, we know that in non-college America as well. Legal age 21 seeks to impose prohibition on young adults, and that's the way, and in my view, the only way to look at this question.